Doubles and Coffee. Very interesting developments with regards to press freedom, journalistic integrity, attacks on the media and so on. Suniti Maharaj, former independent senator and editor and journalist for many years, decades, made a point at a recent book launch that the government deciding to cut expenditure on advertising in the media is an attack on press freedom. And she likened it to 1987 when the government specifically targeted a Privy Council judgment said that targeting one news outlet for foreign exchange, to not give them the ability to access foreign exchange was against press freedom. Now that connection and analogy does not apply because right now, across the board, based on demographics, information spreading, and on the need to curtail useless expenditure, the Prime Minister and the government has suspended all advertising on all media outlets across the board. So to make a specific case that an attack on one and not the others, that does not apply here. So Suniti Maharaj and now Newsday jump on it, and Newsday comes with an editorial that's very interesting. The fragility of press freedom. Now, first and foremost, you all know on this social media for the last 7 years, whether Douglas politics, whether Doubles and Coffee, I have been showing you that the press in Trinidad and Tobago has long since given up their freedom, their impartiality, that they have moved away from the principles of journalistic integrity, fairness, trust, truth, questioning, and they've shown a clear PNM bias, as if the newspapers and the media outlets and the TV6 News and the CNC3 and the TTT were being edited and produced in Balize House that has gone up from negative 4 million to a positive 150 million without question. And I've given you its replete social media and my videos with examples of the ridiculous positions taken by the PNM fake news media. The inability of the media and journalists to uphold a standard of ask the hard questions, be fair, impartial, and search for truth. That's the basis on which press freedom exists, Suniti Maharaj. So for you to just make a claim and state categorically that all of a sudden there is some attack on press freedom, you must first begin. Is there any free press in Trinidad and Tobago? Is the press in Trinidad and Tobago, and give me examples, is it fair? Is it impartial? Does it search for truth? Does it treat both, especially when we're dealing with politics, does it treat both major political parties the same? Or are there examples of an agenda being pushed? Then, Suniti, then you can talk about press freedom. So let me read a bit of the position of Suniti Maharaj and the Newsday. Now, all of them have been losing readership, losing viewership, losing clicks, because people have lost trust. Let's read what their position is. The fragility of press freedom. At the launch of Richard Chan's book, A Village of One on August 26, former independent senator and journalist Suniti Maharaj noted that the government's plan to reduce advertising in traditional media was a press freedom issue. Ms. Maharaj noted a 1987 effort to limit foreign exchange for a specific newspaper, I already told you, makes no sense. That's a ridiculous thing. That shows that it was a specific attack on one entity as opposed to others, and that does not exist nor apply to this situation. She called on her audience to consider what it would be like to have only social media as a news source. She said, where would you find anything you can trust? Well, let's deal with that, Ms. Maharaj. Can we trust the Guardian newspaper, the Guardian of Rowley, and the PNM Scapex? That, for example, when Anand Ram Logan was the Attorney General and he won an arbitration with BAE, that to get back money because the OPVs that were being constructed and built for Trinidad and Tobago, which are slow war vessels, their laser targeting shooting system, which would be necessary to hit engines of fast-moving boats moving at 80 to 100 miles per hour in pitch blackness out there at the sea to scare drug runners and gun runners and human traffickers. The targeting system, the guns weren't working. So this man, Anand Ramlogan, went to arbitration and won. But yet the Guardian printed, government loses $1.2 billion arbitration and never corrected it. What about the Maduro situation with Venezuela now? And how the PNM, through COVID, through Delcy Rodriguez, were locking out citizens but allowed Delcy Rodriguez and PDVSA oil officials to land and meet with Rowley. And y'all never got down to the depth and the painful foreign policy that was putting Trinidad and Tobago in the crosshairs of the European Union, the USA, and the OAS. Y'all now stand there while Maduro has stolen an election. You print nothing about the truth that took place on July 28. The USA is coming here to stop drug running and indicting cartel leader and an illegitimate ruler from wreaking havoc in the area, attacking and stealing the Essequibo from Guyana. And your newspapers present a perception, an opinion, and a view that this is some zone of peace that Rowley says, that Smallpin says, when Smallpin was going back and forth, dancing the conga line with Maduro and Delcy, secret trips, secret NDAs, dragon gas deals, corrupt deals. You don't even know how much Trinidad and Tobago actually paid Maduro. You write nothing about that. When any logical, reasonable person will see that stopping drugs, drug runners, gun runners, human traffickers through the 7 miles of the Gulf of Paria is critical to the safety and security of Trinidad and Tobago, that is awash with blood over the last 10 years, over 5,000 murders and counting. You won't see a newspaper take a reasonable position. You take a PNM propagandist position. You push PNM agenda. You push even with an Independence Day parade situation that Kamala Persad-Bissessar did not want to cancel. She didn't choose to cancel. But the National Security Intelligence Agencies and the Commissioner of Police says there's a serious threat to arms of the judiciary, the police, the army, the defense force, the government, the executive. And for that reason, for safety and security of the nation, a nation that has been through 1990, you, the newspaper, so-called press freedom, taking a position that a parade is our patriotism, our parade means our independence, not talking about who we are, what we are, and keeping our country safe. These are the illogical positions that show that the press in Trinidad and Tobago is not free. It's a propaganda machine of the PNM. So you trying to present an argument that this press is some sort of freedom, that they work and operate under the principles of journalistic integrity, is a false one, Suniti Maharaj. So your argument loses water at the beginning, because the bulk of the people, as espoused on April 28, in a landslide rejection of the PNM, disagrees with your newspaper's position that PNM is worthy, that PNM is trustworthy, that PNM policies make sense. When an Auditor General had to call upon the PNM to account, and they could not account for $3.6 billion, the Privy Council, the same one that you're quoting, had to say, why is then Minister of Finance Colm Imber not under investigation? The Privy Council said it. Did the newspapers say it? Did the newspapers, the free press in Trinidad and Tobago, did they clamor for Colm Imber to answer and to be accountable and to be investigated? No, so don't try to feign press freedom. You have proposed and showed your colors, all of your media, the Newsday, the Express, the Guardian, TTT, TV6, CNC3, 13 radio stations, that you've taken a pro-PNM position. So you cannot come to argue about press freedom when your press is not free. It is bought out. It has been prostituted. So who do the people trust? They trust Kamala Persad-Bissessar. They trust social media. They trust the truth. They trust information. They trust facts. They trust information that comes with research, with examples, with logical conclusions. And April 28 showed that position. So Your position about press freedom loses water. You have no case because you have sold out. What about your MAT, your media association that was packed with PNM puppets and taking a PNM position? And even as Rowley and Smallpin and the PNM attack the media, even if they get one little column against them, you all said nothing. You've been caught. The evidence is clear, and the people have rejected the so-called mass media of Trinidad and Tobago. So there is no trust. So the people trust where they can get fair information, solid debate, both sides of the story, the truth, the hard questions, and it does not lie with the mass media. So they don't trust you, Suniti Maharaj. Me, I know if you living in 1960s. Continued. Traditional media outlets have fallen far from the positions as absolute arbiters of public opinion they enjoyed decades ago. The public is now assailed by an online flood of information. Some of it is primary reporting from trustworthy sources, but the majority is unverified opinion masquerading as absolute fact. Well, then you've just described your editorial position, your newspapers, your propaganda machines, because you are masquerading as free press. You are masquerading as journalists. You are now masquerading as press freedom. You have not applied the principles of journalistic integrity. Think about the Emailgate situation. With a free press, Keith Rowley's career would have ended right then and there. To go in the parliament to speak for an hour and 15 minutes and lie through his teeth. His first 13 minutes was admitting and researching why he was going to lie on a prime minister and her cabinet ministers and a government. And then he proceeded to lie. The emails were not emails, 29 out of 31. The press knew that. They saw it. It was obvious for a 5-year-old to see. But did the press say, Rowley, you scumbucket? Rowley, you liar? Rowley is a disgrace. Rowley's attack on the parliament. Rowley desecrated the parliament. Rowley should be banned. Rowley should be ignored. Rowley must go. Did you all say that? No. You all took the Faris Al-Rawi tight pants position that even though those emails were fabricated, concocted, and were not emails, the 29 out of 31 of them could not even enter the cloud, that you must investigate the content of something that did not exist. That's what your media outlet fed the people, fed the nation. And Keith Rowley became prime minister and suffered this country for 9.5 years. So what press freedom are you talking about? You have shown yourselves, you have been unmasked, and there is no free press in Trinidad and Tobago. They are all PNM propaganda machines. So if you choose to do that, and your ratings go down, how can you then call for advertisement? Because the principle about advertising is that people trust the media, people read and view the media, the viewership, the listenership, the readership is high, and therefore, if you have a message to send, that you will pay your money to send it in the mass media because the people, the citizens are looking, viewing, and listening. Well, Suniti and Newsday, the people are not looking, reading, or listening to the mass fake media anymore because they've lost their trust and faith in you. So why would one want to advertise in an outlet that nobody's reading or listening to? You see, when you analyze it carefully, you have to be very specific. So if a government wants to get its message out with value, or any private sector, if you notice, a lot of private sector people are also not advertising on the fake news media. Why? Because people are not listening, they're not reading, and they're not viewing. So therefore, they're finding alternative messages. Influencers on social media are getting paid to advertise private products, food, hair products, sales, shopping, groceries. And the media in Trinidad and Tobago is diminishing because people have lost trust in the PNM fake news media. Why did you not investigate Balize House? What about Rowley going to President Paul Weeks and thwarting a police service commission meritless, attacks on the DPP, Nelson Gate, Delcy Gate, Maduro Gate, even his integrity in public life forms. So you, Suniti and Newsday, you all have chosen your path. You made your bed, so lay in it with the PNM. Bless.